right, as I see people getting filtered in, I guess we will get started. So, good afternoon, DEI Business Fellows. Welcome to your first exclusive educational webinar with the DDC team. Throughout this program, you're going to hear directly from the teams that sell and promote your businesses. This is your one-on-one time with these teams, so be sure to take advantage of the moment and ask your questions. Today, you will be hearing from our marketing and communications teams on how you can leverage the reach of Washington.org and our communications efforts. Throughout the presentation, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. There will be time for a Q&A at the end of the presentation. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Danielle Davis, our VP of Communications, to kick us off.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. So today you're going to hear all about how to go beyond buzzwords to tell compelling stories. These stories matter because the people on this call are the ones responsible for pitching editorial coverage about our destination and creating the content that attracts visitors to Washington, D.C. and your business. So let's get started with editorial. The team that you're seeing here is responsible for local, national, international, and trade media coverage. You're going to hear from most of us today, and we've also included our contact information. Our goal is to explain how your business can be part of our efforts. And because of this team's work, consumers are reading positive stories in top publications. The stories help inspire them to visit or plan a meeting or group trip to Washington, D.C. We really can't do it without you. We appreciate your willingness to help us host journalists or help us find interesting stories. You're going to hear all about how to get more involved today. So who are we reaching? The local press is really important to us when it comes to telling our story about what visitors mean to the local economy and businesses like yours. Goldie and Nicole, who aren't on this call today, handle our international markets. I know many of your businesses relate to groups coming into town to hold meetings or events, so know that reaching trade publications are an important part of our strategy. And of course, the domestic audience. And Kyle Deckelbaum handles all our domestic efforts. So I'm going to turn it over to him to talk more about that now.
Danielle, thank you so much. So I think the big takeaway we want you to have in terms of domestic audiences is we are here to support you and we are here to amplify your message. And we do so by operating with this advantage of not just being able to tell sort of narrow, great stories, but also we have this sort of big picture view of the city. So it allows us to secure some of the big wins that you may read about for DC, like the New York Times 36 Hours piece, or accolades from Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure and Good Housekeeping that mention DC as a place to visit. That keeps DC top of mind for potential travelers. And we work to get these stories from a mix of proactively pitching media and utilizing our relationships, as well as responding to a lot of requests, almost all of which in one way or another touch these 10 topics here. And these are all topics that our research shows travelers consider when they're trying to think about where they want to spend their money. So to highlight just a few of these, for example, we are heavily reliant on what's new. That does not mean we are only pitching what's new. It does mean we try to use what's new in the city as the hook to highlight everything else that we have going on here in DC. We try to use what's new to underscore what correlates. For dining, it's not just openings sort of branching off that, but also trends like upscale cocktails, or right now mocktails are very big. And then what's free? The fact that we have 100 plus free things to do in the city is a major point of difference for DC. So then the question, how can you fit in? And that's where we really need two-way communication. We are so reliant on you, as Danielle mentioned. We need to have all the information to work with and call upon when we're pitching and relying to requests. So we hope that you'll think about how you fit into different storylines. So for example, think about some of the anniversaries and events that are coming up. The Folger Shakespeare Library this summer is reopening. The White House Visitors Center next fall. The 50th anniversary of the Hirshhorn is next fall. We have the 20th DC Jazz Fest. We have Capitol Pride coming up this June. So think about how you fit into these storylines. For example, a big thing last fall was the reopening of the National Museum of Women in the Arts. We used that new thing to tell a great story about what exists across DC. So we had a writer from Forbes write about 10 ways to promote women's empowerment across DC. So think about interesting character bios and how you might fit. That might involve humbly looking in the mirror or perhaps looking around your business to find great bios and backgrounds and experiences and try to think about how they fit into the broader storylines of the city. There are also big pillars we try to work with, sustainability and wellness, for example, and really try to think outside the box for a lot of definitions of what wellness may be. But wellness is very big in travel right now. So in addition to our efforts to proactively use the information that you provide to pitch and respond to requests to a domestic media, we also work with international representation around the world. We have representation and we work closely with agencies in our top international markets, including the UK and Ireland, Germany, France, China, India, and as far away as Australia and New Zealand. And what we do is we take the information that you give us and pass that along to media there so that even across the world, they're potentially, fingers crossed, writing about your business. So think about what resonates internationally as well. Think about what's new. Think about market parallels and consider the audience, how your business perhaps weaves and intersects with their potential interests. In terms of only in DC, and there's only one DC, think of those distinctive DC experiences, what sets you apart and how that underscores the notion of just how unique a city DC is. And then we try to use your business and to promote domestically on an international scale, even those potentially organizing or attending a conference or meeting. And for more on that, I want to hand it off to my colleague, Susan O'Keefe.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan O'Keefe, Senior Manager for Marketing and Communications for Trade. Simply put, I pitch meetings, industry, trade outlets, and I leverage media opportunities to tell the story of Washington, D.C., and why it's a great destination to host meetings and events. In my pitches, I build in information about you, our business fellows, and highlight the authentic ways for meeting planners to tap into our local businesses and engage with our community. These are just some of the examples of how industry outlets have covered Washington, D.C. We also send out press releases that build awareness of DDC's programs like the DEI Business Fellowship. These get picked up both by national and international outlets and include a link to the list of your businesses and content at washington.org. Finally, we work with several strategic partners and use their platforms to share your stories that get served up directly to meeting planners who are considering destinations for their citywide and association meetings. And now I'll pass it on to my colleague, Claire.
Thank you, Susan. Hello, everyone. My name is Claire Deegan, and I'm the Communications Coordinator here at Destination DC. And one of my responsibilities is producing the journalist newsletter. The purpose of the journalist newsletter is to spark ideas for journalists to think about DC for their travel stories. There's a wide variety of content highlighting what is new for the upcoming season. For example, there are museum updates, new hotels, dining and drinking, and events happening all across the city. Please send your news to dcmedia@washington.org. This content is used for press releases, journalist newsletters, and pitches.
So I just wanted to hop in here. Now that you've heard some ways that you all can promote your business through our team's efforts, I wanted to highlight a couple of business fellows who have done this well, both for PR and communications and social content. Starting with communications, our 2023 DEI Business Fellow, Ethiopic, had a big win out of this program. Ethiopic is an Ethiopian restaurant located on 8th Street. It's a small and family-operated business that kept our team in the loop by sharing its stories and keeping an event and special offer live on our calendars for the duration of the program. When our comms team reached out with the opportunity to host a journalist for dinner, they said yes, and this resulted in a spotlight in an international publication. From this experience, they've already welcomed another set of journalists this year. Something I want to note here that's important for you all to know is that our team recognizes that you run small businesses, and when they reach out with opportunities to host, I really want to emphasize that when we approach you, we don't want hosting to be a financial hardship on your business. We aren't asking you to comp a group meal every time. Often, what we're looking for is support making a reservation, offering a special touch like coming by their table, or just being on site to greet our guests. So just keep that in mind as opportunities present themselves. Now, as we prepare to transition to the social media marketing portion of this presentation, I wanted to offer another example of a business fellow who engaged with that team. Here's the scoop: a small ice cream shop in Shaw, right across the street from Howard. They shared assets with me to upload to our events and special offers calendars and caught the attention of our team for National Ice Cream Day. Their business, as a result, was featured in reels on @Visit Washington, D.C. that reached over 2,000 engagements. All of this to say, keep us in the loop and make sure you upload your programming to our calendars. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Kirsten to kick off the next portion of our presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kirsten Jefferson, and I am the social media manager here at Destination DC. And this afternoon, I'm here to talk with you about some ways to utilize social media in a meaningful way for your business and how to engage with the social media team here at Destination DC. A little bit about the team. So the social team here at DDC is a small but mighty force under the direction of Andrew O'Connor, who is our Director of Content Marketing. I oversee all of our leisure channels and manage our intern. This spring, we're excited to welcome Hannah Tedesco from the University of Maryland as our spring social media intern. Other members of the team include Allie Johnson, who assists with our social videos, Macy Dalton, who manages our industry social channels, and Laura Calhoun, who manages our influencer program. As you'll notice, Destination DC, we have two different sets of social accounts. Visit Washington, D.C., which is our leisure side, and Destination DC, which is referred to as our industry and stakeholder side. I like to think of the industry side as being a channel that kind of focuses on DDC culture and events, and while our leisure channels focus on high-level inspiration for visiting DC. Now, let's take a look at social storytelling on social media. Social media storytelling is the art of using social media channels to share the narrative of a brand or business with its audience. Storytelling on social is very important because it builds brand reputation. This is the perception that customers, employees, partners, and others may have of your brand. It taps into the emotions of the audience, and more importantly, it drives business, or in our case, inspires one-day travel to Washington, D.C. So how do you go about storytelling on social media, you might ask? Well, the first thing to do is figure out what channels are best for your businesses. Some things to consider. Instagram is wildly popular for photos and videos. This is personally where we as Destination DC see most of our engagement. Channels like TikToks are very video focused, and Facebook is a great place for if you have to share links to articles as well as pictures and videos. Another thing to consider when storytelling on social media is making it personal. For example, you can really look at utilizing UGC content. UGC stands for user-generated content, which is really a heavy part of our social strategy here at DDC. Showing UGC content really humanizes your brand and gets the customers and travelers to understand what it is about your business or brand. You can look at UGC content by looking at your tags and see who has tagged you and stuff. You can look at the geotags or the location for your business, looking through your comments, your mentions, and just simply saying, hey, we like this photo that you shared of our business. Can we repost this on our channels? It's a great and low maintenance way that you can engage with your audience and make things personal on your channels. Something else that's also helpful is going behind the scenes of your business, showing your staff, your customers, who you are, really making it personable and so that they understand who's behind the brand or business. Engage with people on your social channels, engage with your comments, your DMs, all of the things that you may see that people are showing that they support your business. Create a hashtag. Here at Destination DC, we use only one DC to help mark our brand. So you can think about something that may be relevant to you in your brand or business. And finally, experiment with social video, which is what we'll dive into next. Video nowadays is a huge boom on social media. And the beautiful thing is that most platforms are very user-friendly when it comes to creating these videos. As you'll see here, this is a video that we shared from our channels of Metro Bar here in DC, and some things that we considered when creating videos or format. So look at the format, vertical video only. Gone are the days of horizontal video, and now videos are shot up and down versus that side-to-side format that we used to see. Audience. When creating a video, it's vital to have your audience in mind.
put yourself in their shoes and think, what would they want to see? For example, are you a restaurant? People love to do their homework and their research when they're deciding on where to eat. So make sure you have plenty of photos and videos of food, or even inside of your restaurant, just so they can understand what the restaurant is. Length. Keep it concise and to the point. People do not have the attention spans that they used to. Videos need to be quick and to the point. Personally, we look at about 30 seconds or less, ideally even around 15 seconds if you can. Think about a hook. Speaking of attention spans, really think about what's going to capture their attention as soon as they see the video, as soon as they open it, what's going to make them want to continue to watch it, because the longer that they watch helps with your completion rate, and a better completion rate helps to get it pushed out into the algorithm better. And lastly, think about some trends. Keep an eye out for just trending, not necessarily trending videos, but also trending sounds. Instagram is wonderful in the way that they've set up that they're templates that you can simply just add and drop clips, and it'll sync it automatically to the sound in whatever way that Instagram will push it out. Now I want to chat with you a little bit about why you should care about influencer marketing. 48% of people report that 48% of people report that influencer content has sparked their interest when traveling to a particular location. You don't need to partner with the Keith Lees of the world to have a successful influencer partnership. Creators with smaller followings of about 10,000 or less can also be very affordable to work with. You can offer an in-kind partnership that in exchange for a gifted product or meal instead of payment. Less followers usually mean that they have a more engaged audience and a very specific audience that you can target exactly the kind of people that you would like to utilize with your business. This may be more impactful than someone with like 1 million followers whose audience isn't very curated or personal. Think local and beyond. There is a booming creator economy right here in the DMV, so take advantage of that. Look at the influencers who are right in your own background. You can search through hashtags like ours, Only1DC, or simply just search DC influencers on Instagram to start discovering local creators. And don't limit yourself to just DC. There may be a content creator visiting from New York who reaches out to you, and these collaborations can be very powerful too. With the right experiences, influencers can really create an authentic extension of your brand or business. Think of content creators as the new word of mouth marketing, just on a larger scale on Instagram. Followers trust their influencers that they follow to make good recommendations, and that they're ready to make a buying decision based on that. A genuine review from an influencer can be a more long-lasting impression from just a random post that they may see. So how do you engage with us here at DDC on the social team? Tag us in your content. We love to see what you all are up to so that we can then come and comment and help support or repost even if we can. Use our hashtag Only1DC. I've mentioned it several times today because that's what we're really pushing to our consumers and to our partners, Only1DC. Upload assets to our asset uploader, which I'll talk about on our next slide. Email dcmedia@washington.org with any relevant news, updates, or any just fun things that you'd like to hear that we should know about so that we can cover on our channels. And finally, say yes to our social team when we come for visits and content. As Zoe mentioned, we were able to partner with Here's the Scoop for National Ice Cream Day, and that was simply just a very low lift. We just simply asked if we could come film, and they said yes, and they were featured in our video. So as I mentioned, our member asset uploader is where we really look for B-roll footage, which we are always in search of B-roll footage for our Things to Do This Weekend and month activity videos. You can also upload visual assets. It's a very user-friendly asset that you can scan here on your screen to upload any of that content. So I want to leave you with this quote from Amelia Earhart that says, the most effective way to do it is just to do it. There's no perfect science to social media, so you can only learn and grow from beginning. So we always encourage you just to start and to go from there. Now I'm going to turn it over to Joe Arvis to discuss Washington.org content.
Thank you so much, Kirsten, and welcome to all of our DEI Business Fellows. My name is Joe Arvis, and I'm the Senior Content Manager at Destination DC. So you've heard a great summary about our social media efforts and how you can participate in social media from Kirsten. Now I'm going to provide an overview of our content on Washington.org, as well as our email marketing and some tips on deals and events for all of you. So content on Washington.org has several goals. It's to drive visitation both domestically and internationally through inspirational content, to serve as a platform for our members and partners like you, and to connect meeting planners to the information they need to book their meeting in DC. I'll also make a quick note of our publications. We have an event planning guide that is geared towards those same meeting planners that's published once per year in January. And we also have an official visitors guide that's published twice a year, once in March and once in September. So when you become a full member, you can gain access to being featured and listed in these resources. So if you're interested, please make sure to follow up with Zoe after our webinar today. One other important reminder for you, if you have a major event to promote, or you just posted a noteworthy deal on washington.org through the member extranet, make sure to keep our content team in the loop by sharing your info via an email to dcmedia@washington.org. A little more background on this. By doing so, you ping every member of the content and communications team. And while it doesn't guarantee a feature or inclusion in our content, it's a great way to alert key members of our team what you're currently offering or plan to offer at your business. These submissions are especially helpful when we have ample lead time. Try to get at least 2 weeks out in front of your promotion or event. I'll go into detail about events and deals a little bit later, more in my portion of the presentation, but just wanted to remind you of DC Media now. Now I'm going to talk about our email marketing, which is a great way to drive to washington.org and keep our audiences informed. A few notes on our newsletter subscribers. So we have DC Insider, which is geared towards a national audience. We also have a locally focused DC on the Go newsletter. So DC Insider has a much wider reach since we're trying to entice visitors from all over the country. Now, DC on the Go is a little inside baseball. It goes a bit deeper for locals. We're trying to point out experiences that go well beyond the National Mall and the standard DC attractions. We also manage numerous communications with members and our industry colleagues. You see a breakdown there on the slide. Note that our member newsletters are great for staying on top of DDC news and opportunities that apply to you, so make sure you've signed up for those. Of course, there are also opportunities for your business to be included in these communications, whether it's to celebrate an accomplishment or feature an offer. Please let Zoe know if you're interested. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about washington.org, which is one of our most valuable tools. We think of it as a content hub for all things DC. It's been translated into 9 languages, and all of our advertising in market drives back to washington.org, where users will find a range of inspirational content geared towards their interest. It's a trusted trip planning resource for consumers. We want people to be inspired and also have the tools to start planning their trip to DC. It helps us promote members like you, whether that's through upcoming events you're hosting or deals that have been posted on the site. It's also used to drive business and create loyalty through email subscriptions, hotel bookings, guide requests, and form submissions. What the content team does is track initial interest from consumers. We try to figure out why they clicked on our advertising, why they visited our website, and then we want to push them to further engage with washington.org and eventually book a trip to the nation's capital. So one other thing I'll make mention of, I'm focusing mainly on leisure-facing content today, but we have an entire section of the website that's dedicated to meeting planners, which you'll see the URL there, washington.org/meetings. The audience will find more inspirational content, numerous options for vendors to use while hosting their event or conference in DC. So if that's the focus of your business, don't worry, we can help you out there as well. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about our content approach. So we do our best. We ensure that we have a unified voice across all of our content channels. And we want to make sure that our voice as a brand is defined. So we have 4 pillars that we follow. That's being straightforward, enthusiastic in the way we write, informative, and inclusive. So we apply these pillars to all our content so that ensures that it's consistent and professional. We want to establish ourselves as knowledgeable and reliable while also maintaining a playful personality. We don't want it to read like a list of instructions. Defining your brand's voice is a great way for businesses to message consistently across channels. So today, think about your brand's voice. Think about what suits the promotion of your business best. What kind of language should you use? What is your general vibe, so to say? Also, we're always updating content so that we can provide potential visitors with the latest information from what's going on this week to what's going on months from now. And then, of course, I've made lots of mention of inspirational content. That includes more than 100 free things to do, which you heard Kyle talk about earlier, ideas for great date nights around the cities, local businesses and restaurants to check out, and lots more. Just to make note, DEI Business Fellows have been included in both timely and evergreen content. Events and deals are the best fit for things like things to do this weekend or things to do for the month. While pieces that focus on businesses in the city, restaurants, and attractions are a great spot for us to introduce fellows to users who may not be familiar with their business. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about our events and deals and why this is important. Make sure that you're making use of the member extranet. It's a really important resource. It's a huge part of your membership with DDC. And again, make sure you're posting upcoming events and including all the pertinent details: when, where, timing, ticket info, and any other additional factors that a potential attendee should be aware of: where to park, what metro to take. By posting your event on washington.org, you're increasing its visibility, you're potentially boosting attendance and sales and revenue for your business, and it's also enabling your brand to show up in organic search when online users search for events in Washington, D.C. Deals on washington.org can also generate great interest for potential visitors. Make sure to highlight ongoing promotions as well as limited time offers. Exclusive perks or special experiences available only at your business can also make for great deals. So now I'm going to take you through some best practices on creating an event or deal. So what you'll see on the right side of the screen is a deal on our site that offers a discount on Blossom tours by bike. Again, it's important to include all information as well as a succinct summary of what you're offering. Tying your deal or your event into a current season or theme can drive interest, just like Unlimited Biking here did with the buzz around cherry blossoms this time of year. Drive value in the title of your deal or event, and make sure you include a good image, which will create trust on part of the consumer. Make redemption details or ticket purchasing as easy as possible so a customer can act quickly. Also, keep in mind that you don't have to reinvent the wheel with your deal. Web visitors are usually coming to this content for the first time, so don't be afraid to offer a Monday happy hour or something along those lines, as tourists look for these types of offers during their visit. So that wraps it up on the content side. I thank all of you so much for attending today. We hope you got lots of useful information out of this, and we're really excited to work with you. So now I'm going to pass it over to Zoe to guide us through our question and answer session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Joe. So we are now going to head into the Q&A portion of our presentation. I'm going to be going through questions that were submitted to the chat and also ahead of time via registration. So I guess we can just go ahead and get started. Looking at the Q&A box, the first question I'm going to pose to our communications team. Someone asks, how far in advance do you need information from us to pitch to media? In other words, what is the required lead time?
I can take that one. That's a great question, because you heard Joe mention about a 2-week lead time for information for content and digital marketing. But for those of us in communications that then have to take that information, pitch it to a journalist who has to write the article, pitch to their editor, hope that it gets published, it's just a much longer process on that end, and one that we don't have as much control over. So on the domestic side, 1 to 2 months would be fantastic. Internationally, the timeline is a lot longer. Europe and India can be 3 to 6 months in advance. Australia can be 6 to 12 months out. So we know you're probably not going to know what's going on in your business a year from now. But I think hopefully the takeaway is the sooner you can provide the information, the more we can do with it.
Great. While we're kind of on lead times and getting things submitted to our team, would someone from the social marketing side of things speak on how businesses get looped into content on washington.org and also on social by way of like the events and deals calendars, and what lead time on that looks like?
I can chime in from web, or excuse me, social. So the way that we kind of, the lead time, I would like to say in a dream world, it's a month as with content, but we understand that things happen or kind of come up spur of the moment. So social is a little bit more agile, and we can kind of flex things in about a week or two in advance. And so in regards to where we get some of the things from like the events calendar, we typically look at that for our things to do this weekend videos. If you follow us on our leisure channels at Visit Washington, DC, every Friday we do a things to do this weekend roundup, as well as a things to do this month roundup. And so typically we look at like the events calendar for kind of what's going on this week or with those weekend event roundups. Like I know example, Hannah, our intern, has already kind of worked on and finalized the list for this week. So that's about a lead time of about a week. But again, since we don't post the video till Friday, if something comes up between now and then, we're able to add it in there that way as well. So I hope that answers your question from a social standpoint.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh,
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll go ahead and hop in to answer from content perspective. So I know during the presentation, I mentioned the DC Media email. I mentioned the member extranet. There was a lot of information. So I would say first and foremost, if you have something coming up, and usually I would assume you're setting up a deal or an event, you would have at least 2 weeks lead time. I know it doesn't always go that way, but the more lead time there is, the better. So the first thing to do is to make sure you've posted on the member extranet. And if you have questions about that, Zoe is great at helping manage that process. Then I would ask you allow us some time to make sure that it's up on the website. There's an approval process on our end that has to happen with events and deals. And from there, that is when you would reach out to the DC Media at Washington.org email. And essentially the same details that you put in the deal or the event listing, please include in that email, and any other details you want to include. And that just helps us, know that it's already on the website, and that makes it that much easier to connect it to the content we're working on. But as you've heard from everyone, the more lead time we have, the better. So I hope that answers the question thoroughly enough.
Yeah. This next question was kind of one that was posed towards membership. Someone asked, I've been having trouble attracting clients via the resources on the extranet. How do I expand on these efforts? Some context on this particular member is that they're a convention service provider. And again, it's really about just keeping us in the loop, making sure that you have images and sample materials up on your pages on Washington.org. And I'm always happy, like Joe said, to sit down and walk through the extranet together and show you how to do those things. And in cases when it's a super tight turnaround, I'm even willing to upload things on your behalf as long as you send me the materials and give me permission to do so. So, kind of in the same breath of social media, what are your top strategies for growing social media engagement? Well, I guess before that, what's step one to getting started in social media? And then how do you increase your engagement from there?
Yeah, I'll jump in here again. So I think the first thing when thinking about social or developing a strategy is kind of thinking about your why or kind of maybe some goals that you'd like to achieve. Are you trying to spread the word about your business? Are you just trying to connect with local members in the community? So definitely think about kind of your why. And then from there, you can kind of determine a good marker for your engagement goals. We at Destination DC, our engagement is kind of based on some things that you would see on the social media platforms as far as likes, comments, shares, saves. So we look at those as our measurements of engagement, but some people look at engagement as more followers. I will say that in just the modern age of social media, right, more followers doesn't necessarily always mean more engagement. I think, Laura and I always have this conversation. Just because an influencer may have 1 million followers, they may have like an engagement rate of 1, right? Whereas you may have someone who has maybe about 3,000 to 5,000 followers, and their engagement rate is probably like a 8 to 10%. Because again, there could be more engagement just with their followers. So more followers isn't always a good thing. I know when Instagram first came out, everyone was looking for those big flashy numbers of, million followers, 1,000, like all the big things. But really look at your key engagements, like those likes, those shares, those saves, especially for small businesses. I always say kind of create that shareable content so that it's like the new word of mouth, right? And so when you can kind of create that shareable content, it's more ways to get your brand out and your business out. So step one, think about your why you're creating the social media platform. And as I mentioned in the PowerPoint, think about which platform may work for you. Because one thing that and small businesses, I never tell them to get on all the platforms at once. I mean, my goodness, that's so overwhelming. And so when you really think about what platform is good for you, do you have a business that looks good via pictures or videos? You may want to start out on Instagram. Or do you have an audience that may be on Facebook versus Instagram, kind of looking at that, maybe saying, hey, I just want to start out on Facebook. So again, step one, your why you're doing it. Step two, look at what platform would work for your business. Step three, kind of think about some content ideas and engaging. And then just kind of, again, as I said, just do it. There's really no perfect science, no perfect formula, as I said, 1, 2, 3 steps, but as we all know, it's probably about 100 steps. But so just do and try from there, and then see how you can grow. And over time with social media, as you look at your analytics, you'll see what works, what doesn't work, how you can tailor it for your business. Look at some of your similar businesses, competitors, or I hate to say that, to look at your competitors, but they may be a source of inspiration, right? So look at those steps there and just try it, because even myself as a social media manager, I wake up to a new social media update every day. So there is no perfect, I'm still figuring it out myself. And so I implore you to do the same.
I love that you said that. For our folks who are maybe a little further along in their journey and a little more established with their social efforts, would you say it's beneficial to post content across different platforms and reuse them in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we here at DDC, you'll notice a lot of our videos content, especially video, you'll see on both TikTok and Instagram. We've also integrated that into our YouTube Shorts. We've integrated that into Facebook Reels, because Facebook now has Reels too. Everyone's trying to keep up and stay aligned with all the competitors. So it's a bit of a Pandora box statement to say don't get on too many platforms, but also cross post. But I think if you have the ability to cross promote and cross use content, absolutely. But if you're just beginning and just starting out, I definitely suggest kind of 1, maybe 2, if you're feeling spicy, platforms, and just trying it out, see what works for your business. And then from there, you can kind of grow and use content across platforms. But some of them are easier. I mean, you can obviously use photos. Again, what we do, we use the same photos on our Facebook and our Instagram, or again, same videos on Instagram, TikTok. And so that's just us and what we've kind of, again, still not a perfect science for us. We still are kind of moving and shaking things around, but there is definitely the opportunity to cross promote against different platforms.
Nice. One thing I'm seeing in the chat that I think would be great to touch on is when we say engagement, what do we mean by that? And how do we measure that on social?
Yeah. So again, for us, for engagements, we look at likes, comments, shares, and saves on a post. Now we here at Destination DC use a platform called Sprout Social, but if you're just beginning, you can use these analytics within the apps. And they also, if you just go to Instagram Analytics or Instagram Insights, it's called, you can see that it's called engagement. And those, again, things are like your post, the like of a post, the comment, the shares and the saves. Or organically, if you're starting out, kind of can just be easier to just once a week say, okay, how many likes did we get on this post, how many comments, if you're posting once a week or so those are what we mean by engagements.
Nice. Thank you for expanding on that. Something that we got submitted in registration was, can we refer any members to help us build digital assets, photo, video, etc.? I know for me, just coming from a membership standpoint, we do work with a couple of businesses that offer those types of services. The first ones that come to mind are PR companies, which you can find in your member directory under convention services. But we also do have one in particular that offers a package for small businesses to go out and shoot photo and video. And I will be sharing that business and that resource with you in your April calendar. So thanks for asking that question. That was a good one, whoever submitted that. Okay, so kind of pivoting a little bit into social media influencers and things like that. Is it worth investing in social media influencer marketing, or do you think it's just a trend?
I will jump back in here as well.
Sorry, Kirsten.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, so as I stated in the presentation, and I am not an expert in any means in this subject. So we have Laura Calhoun, who is our influencer specialist, but I work closely with Laura because social media influencing and influencer marketing overlap so well. And so the research that we both have done, it does work, right? And you don't have to spend $1 million on it, as I shared in the presentation. You can start locally, look at your local creators, or even as it's almost the same as working with that journalist relationship with Zoe. It may not be, we're not saying give them a $500 meal when they come and visit, but it could just be perhaps providing them with a bottle of wine for the table or something of that nature, because in the long run, it ties back to that engagement. And when these people, they may not have large $1 million followings, but they may are million followers, but they may just have 5,000 that are truly engaged and care about what it is that they're saying, and they trust what they're saying. And if that person recommends your brand or your business or the experience that they had, that could go a long way, as opposed to like paid media or paid social media advertising, simply just by working with this influencer who has the trust of an audience that's already built in. So it is work. It's not just a fad. If anything, I think this is just the beginning of influencer marketing that we're seeing now. And it really can only take off, from here. So I say start small. You don't have to, as we talked about kind of in the presentation, you don't need the Keith Lees of the world all the time. Sometimes there are quality, amazing, talented influencers right here in your backyard, who are just really, really ready to work and kind of maybe just perhaps need an opportunity or to showcase something new and different. And so I always say, do your due diligence and trust your gut on who you want to work with, but definitely work with influencers. At least, I'm not saying you have to do it every week or every weekend, but maybe just say once a month. Reach out to an influencer, say, hey, can I host you for dinner? Or hey, can we have you in for lunch, if that's a lesser pull than dinner? But just explore some ways to engage with influencers, because I hate to say it, but this is really only the beginning of influencer marketing. So
I'd love to hear more about what DDC is doing with hosting influencers and how members can get involved.
yeah, so as I said, so influencer marketing is done through Laura Calhoun, who is a wonderful colleague of mine. Laura at Washington.org is her email. But so she fully manages the program, sets up their itineraries, works with their alignments and their bookings and everything. And so the way that we kind of work with them now is, I know that she has kind of a calendar that she works from as far as different content periods. As you know, we're in cherry blossom season. We've got some sustainability things coming up. We've got Pride. So she kind of looks at her calendar and kind of works with certain themes. However, there are one-off opportunities that she will work with to kind of host and again get that exposure with the city and with influencers. So how her hosting process kind of works is, again, she vets them. She has a process and a form that they can fill out. She has I'll call it a Rolodex, if you will, of influencers, both locally and non-locally, that she works from and manages with, and then will work with members. So really, if you're open to the idea of it, I always just say, again, reach out to myself or Laura, or I can connect you with Laura or Zoe, to see what opportunities maybe lie there. Because again, if you're just looking to just kind of get the word out about your business, again, she will be able to provide a great list and Rolodex of influencers that you can reach out to. Or again, at DDC, we're happy to help kind of connect some dots there as well.
Perfect. And I know I've spoken with a couple of you on this cohort about how to express interest with those, but I will be linking like the interest form from the co-ops page in your April calendar as well. So definitely check it out. And if you're interested, express interest to the team. So I guess the last question that we really have for today is, how can a DEI business fellow get the most out of their partnership? Where can we go to get the most involved? And I hate to kind of jump at the bit here, but it's to communicate with us, specifically me, your account manager. I'm happy to sit down with all of you and do a strategy session on what's the best approach to get the most out of this fellowship period. Um, I'm kind of your air traffic controller to the rest of the organization, and I'm here as a resource to you to connect you with teams like Kirsten's team and Kyle's team, and share those opportunities that come up with you all. Um, Really, just feed me all the information you have, and I will coach you on exactly where what information should go. So if you send me the information about your new cherry blossom picks, I'll prompt you to upload it to the special offers calendar, into the events calendar, and I'll make sure it's shared with the communications team. I'm here as a resource, so be sure to use me. Does anyone else have anything to add to that on the team?
Zoe, if I could again just jump in because I see one of the questions and I just want to kind of expand about what is featured on DDC versus Visit DC. So we also, so in the capacity of Destination DC and our industry channels, there is a member spotlight program that Zoe works really closely with Macy on my team to handle from an industry side, and that kind of spotlights the business and what it's about. But I will say we do kind of feature on the leisure side, if you are more of like a restaurant or kind of a see and do, something that we can get out and film, we're also happy to kind of promote them on both channels, if that makes sense. So I just want to be clear that just because you're on Destination DC channel does not mean that you are excluded from Visit DC. If anything, we're happy to kind of see where we can align you with both opportunities. So again, as Zoe mentioned, one of the examples are National Ice Cream Day. When we look and kind of think about who can we utilize in these spaces for these, we always kind of joke and say that they're fake holidays, but you know, think about the National French Fry Days of the world, the National Pizza Days, all of those opportunities. We also like to come and spotlight on our leisure channels, and that you can see when you look at our feed, a lot of those things are also from a perspective of someone dining or again that UGC content. So I just want to clarify that you can be utilized in both spaces if it permits and aligns with your brand or business.
Yes, thank you for clearing that up. And if you're interested in having a member spotlight and haven't done one already, I have dates saved for the DEI Business Fellows. So just reach out to me and I can help you coordinate that. Really, all I need for a member spotlight is 4 to 6 images, any short video, and a call to action from you all. And also your handle so that we can tag you and engage you that way. But I'll also send more instructions of that in your April calendar. So if you're interested, just let me know. And let me check the Q&A one more time. I think that's all we had for today. So I'm going to close this out. Thank you all again for taking the time to join us this afternoon. You can expect your April calendars from me early next week. And in the meantime, be sure to upload your events and special offers to our calendars and see me if you haven't already scheduled that member spotlight. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will be talking very soon.